people with expired non-disclosure agreements. What's the juicy info you can now tell us? Those things expire. My NDA says it only expire when the information becomes public. It's simple. Release the information publicly on Reddit, so the NDA expires. Checkmate. I served on a board that had kidnap ransom insurance for all the board members. A condition of the insurance was that we could tell no one that we had kidnap ransom insurance. My company used to sell a lot of KNR insurance. Not telling anyone you have KNR insurance is number 1, or at least top 5. Outback Steakhouse's recipe for macaroni and cheese. 4 ounces of heavy whipping cream. 4 ounces of Velveeta cheese. 9 ounces of al dente pen pasta. Throw it in a saute pan and melt the cheese. Bam. Outback mac and cheese. Yo, that's pretty interesting. Thanks for the info. I was once on the camera crew of Pimp My Ride and most of the show is fake. The guys knew ahead of time that we were arriving. The car had to be fully paid off and most of the work done has to be paid for in almost full. My cousin sent in a letter trying to get his car on the show. They told him his car wasn't ghetto enough. Their words. How could those people afford the work being done? They ran an installment plan option of some sort. My favorite part was how the transmission or engine definitely needed replaced, but they were like, nah, we are gonna throw a washing machine and a PS2 into this bitch instead. My favorite episode is when they installed the fish tank into a vehicle. A fucking fish tank, the fish is going to die, you goo. I worked at a printing company outside DC in the late 90s/early zeros. We did work for the government from time to time. We printed materials for the investigation into the Branch Davidian cult in Waco, Texas. There was tons of aerial photos of the compound, and for some reasons David Koresh owned many cameras. They were mostly old beat up ones, but there were a few dozen on the compound. So you're telling me you have juicy info on a cult, but you're only mentioning some old cars that were there. They're cameras, bro. We need to know the years. Were there any Firebirds or Transams mixed in? How many had the dope ass Phoenix on the hood? Posado's safe haven oversold their memorial dog cottages. So when a donor, they cost $10,000, came to visit their dog's memorial cottage that they donated $10,000 for, Posado's would have to swap out the memorial plaque. Super shitty. Imagine a cemetery full of mausoleums where you use a keycard to enter and the plaques are all nicely mounted panel TVs showing heartwarming videos of the deceased, except that the keycard is tied to the video shown, so you could have limitless people interred in one mausoleum and the video just switches based on whoever swipes in. You have the makings of a businessman. Then as you're leaving, you can hold the door for the next family. The state of Oklahoma once busted a counterfeit check ring because the individuals misspelled Oklahoma on the front of some checks. They were damn near perfect copies with valid account, check, and amount numbers, and were caught when an employee who ran a reader/sorter machine noticed to reject a check with the spelling Oklahoma. I was that employee and had to testify in court regarding finding the checks. I think I'm still not supposed to talk about certain details, even though it was a long time ago. Just, come on. How could you not quadruple check something simple like that when committing fraud? It's usually the stupid criminals that get caught anyway. I mean, they got everything else right. They were at least moderately intelligent. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd call them stupid, more like it's the small stupid mistakes otherwise smart people make that get them caught. Even the really intelligent ones make stupid mistakes. Still another 65 years before I can reveal the outdated 1980s designs for my nuclear submarine. All the people at the retirement home are going to lose their minds. Remind me in 65 years. Edit, spelling due to autocorrect. 1980s design sounds like the 21 class of boat. The joke for that class was that the design engineers introduced their first prototype to the admirals with pride and glee. The admirals took a look at the designs and said this will be the most badass submarine in history. One question though, where do the people sleep and eat? The engineers looked at them with confusion and said people. Usually NDAs are overly aggressive and a waste of time/paper, but I'm kinda fine with nuclear submarine designs to stay secret. I was about to be a Quiznos store manager, and during orientation for the job, management proceeded to tell me that if we were to drop the food, we would have to scoop the fallen item and mix it in with the fresh products. I left that interview in the next hour and never ate at another Quiznos again. Edit. Thanks for the gold. This was my very first post. Now that you mention it, I can't remember the last time I saw a Quiznos store. Seems that is okay. They tanked partially due to poor management, but you can still find them here and there. Saw one in an airport in Florida and another one in Missoula, Montana. I'm so happy I've never eaten there. I'm happy I've never seen one. That's fucking grosses. They're just that individual shitty franchisor though. From what I understand, Quiznos made so many demands on franchises, no wonder they were so cheap. Yes, that is just a tightwad manager at a specific franchise. Most restaurant managers respect the health code enough to not use food that's been on the floor. Anytime you hear a story like this, it's going to be an individual store's or a specific manager's policy, assuming it's not some BS story. No restaurant would be dumb enough to have a policy like that, let alone a national chain. It's not much, but I was part of developing AirDrop for Mac OS X Lion 10.7 and was doing this on a 2008 Mac Pro. In the end, we were told it's not to be made compatible with 2008s and require a 2009. That made no sense because I was successfully testing it on the 2008 just fine. It was a planned obsolescence, a ploy to force users to buy a new Mac. Upset, I secretly released a patch on MediaFire for owners of a 2008 to get AirDrop. It didn't require much as I made the lockout as cheaply as possible. I also did development of USB 3.0 support and also did this on my 2008 Mac Pro. I should mention that this Mac Pro is a prototype with a unique firmware that has an inside BIOS setup with all options available for debugging, of which Apple never asked back, and I still have today in my office as my daily driver. It has no serial number and refers to itself as a prototype in any software trying to get a board revision. It also doesn't run retail macOS, hence I said BIOS earlier. It doesn't have EFI, so it runs Windows 10 today with the GTX 1050Ti installed and still has the USB 3.0 card I had during development. Before anyone asks, no, I didn't steal it. I asked my supervisor if they wanted it back and he told me to keep it. They had no use for it. Thanks for the silver kind stranger. Here's a video of the machine today for those curious. Apologies for my sleepiness in my voice. Fairly tired today for some reason. https://streamable.com/x722. I secretly released a patch on MediaFire for owners of a 2008 to get AirDrop. Thank you. I found and used it back in the day.